T-minus 1 minute and counting. Four, three, two, one.
Welcome to the Flyer Show.
Hello and welcome to the Flyer Show from the Wadswick studio. My name's Ian Seeger.
I'm Ed Hicks.
And I'm Dave Calderwood.
In today's show, there's news of a new aviation minister.
There's some upcoming changes to the PPL from October 1st.
And the Managing Director of Gloucester Airport is polishing up his CV.
Plus, we'll be giving you our tips for buying your first aircraft. But first, thank you very much to SkyDemon for supporting the live stream. Here is this week's top tip.
Hi, I'm Rob from SkyDemon, and here's another top tip.
Sometimes you'll be planning a flight to be undertaken several days in the future, and you may notice that SkyDemon doesn't contain wind forecasts that far ahead. If you have a source of wind data which does stretch out further into the future, you can manually enter it into SkyDemon on a leg-by-leg basis. Within the weather menu, look for Set Wind Conditions for Flight, and then enter the data using the format shown. This function is also useful in cases where you might like SkyDemon to assume zero wind for your flight. Like so.
For more information, check out our website, www.skydemon.aero.
So, shocker, SkyDemon can't always predict the future.
I don't believe that. Give them a week. They'll have it sorted.
Shall we see what the weather forecast has in store for us?
Hi everyone, hope you're doing well this evening. Great to be here again. And if you're planning some flying this weekend, it's a bit hit and miss. Let me show you what I mean. Going to show you some different charts here. These are from the high resolution Icon EU model. And the times that these charts refer to are up here, look, in the top of the screen, shown in Zulu times. And what these charts are showing is cloud. So where we see the completely white colours here, that means we've got overcast cloud. And then you can see the black colours here. That's where we've got no cloud. So then anything in between, such as down here, is more broken cloud. Also on these charts, we get an inference of rainfall as well. So think of it as predictive rain as radar. You can just see a few blue colours there. And we've got pressure lines on there. We've got the isobars on there too. So this is the forecast for Friday. And notice that Friday morning, we've got a fair amount of cloud across southeastern parts of England. Now, during the morning, that cloud is going to be pushing its way westwards, getting into parts of the Midlands. One or two showery spots of rain developing through the Channel and across eastern parts of Scotland as well. But for most of us, actually, it is going to be a VFR-able afternoon. We're looking at bases probably at around 3,000 feet, tops of around 7,000 feet. Best of any sunshine you can see there out towards the west. So southwest England, Wales, western parts of Scotland, eastern parts of Ireland. So what we find through the course of Friday night is that we get rain moving into Ireland. You can see it there getting in. And by Saturday morning, by 7 AM local Saturday morning, it's through western Scotland, down through western parts of Wales and southwest England. Certainly non-VFR-able here. Low cloud affecting coasts and hills. Elsewhere, there probably will be some mist or murk around first thing. Some drizzle could just drift through southeastern coasts and across central and eastern parts of the Channel. So you do need to be aware of that cloud could be quite low there. And then through the course of Saturday morning, that rain spreads eastwards. So eastern areas probably faring okay through Saturday morning, apart from these bits of drizzle, southeast England and through the Channel. Typical base is 3,000 feet, tops at about 7,000 feet, but out west, non-VFR as that rain comes in. Low cloud, drizzle, fog affecting the coasts and hills, and then gradually that rain tries to edge eastwards during the course of Saturday afternoon, becoming quite heavy across parts of southwestern Scotland, across parts of northwest England, Wales into southwest England, tending though the cloud to break up across East Anglia and the southeast. Watch the forecasts carefully for that one, but it does look like we've got a reasonable afternoon developing there. Now, through the course of Saturday night into Sunday, that rain then tracks its way eastwards. Notice how it lingers across East Anglia and southeast England on Saturday morning. It doesn't really clear properly until the middle part of Sunday afternoon. And then through Sunday, we tend to find better conditions coming in from the west during the course of the day, for most of us going VFR. And as those better conditions come in, I think we're looking at bases around 4,000 feet, tops at around 10,000 feet. Just watch for the odd shower, southwestern Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland. So quite a complex situation as we go through the weekend. And complex is what we love. Anyway, big news this week is that I've announced my Next Aviation Weather School, but the classroom-based version, something that many of you have been asking for. So this is going to be Aviation Weather School Part 1. It's going to take place between 10 AM and 4 PM here at Weather School HQ in Wombourne, which we're about 3 miles to the east of Hackney Green Airport, Wolverhampton. And it'll be on Saturday the 15th of November. Places are booking quickly already. I think I've got 2 places remaining, and we'll have a full day of weather together. I will build your confidence in weather. I'll tell you the stuff that you really need to know. I'll get you planning up to 5 days in advance and just get your weather confidence right up there, so you'll be flying more and you'll be flying more safely as well. Be great to see you there. So go to weatherschool.co.uk and you can book your place now. Look at you, you get to spend a Saturday with me. What could be better? Where do you want the list to start? I'll leave you with that for now. Have a great weekend. Safe flying, everyone. And don't forget, keep the sun shining. See you soon. Bye for now.
Well, I guess that's England in September.
Yes.
Yes, yep. And we're on the edge of Hurricane Gabriel.
Right. Time for some news.
Yes.
I guess the first bit of news is that we've got a new aviation minister. Last week we didn't have one. This week we've got one, and it's 27-year-old Keir Mather. So I think he's the youngest minister since Gladstone. But interestingly, there wasn't some fanfare press release that you'd expect from the DFT. It kind of snuck out in another press release the DFT put out about them recruiting the next tranche of aviation ambassadors. So we'll link to that if you fancy the job. We kind of thought about, should we apply? But we could do it as a job share, maybe. The 3 of us. They get 3 of us for the. But
Who would want us?
Who would want us? Certainly not the DFT. and that's, you know what? I don't think it'd be right for us to toe the DFT line anyway. There you go. So, but there is that post coming up, and if you are interested, seriously, now's the time to apply. But interestingly, this came at a time after a meeting last week between DFT officials and a couple of the alphabet groups, where the DFT officials effectively said, we're kind of pretty much disengaging from general aviation. We are not going to be working on a separate GA strategy. We're going to look at things in a whole. So when we look at fuel, we're going to look at sustainable aviation fuel as well as avgas and stuff like that. GA it's too expensive to manage like that, and it's going to be something different in the future. And that's kind of really not been looked at and taken very well by the alphabet groups. They're not very happy. I dropped a line to Grant Shapps once upon a time.
Sir Grant Shapps.
Sir Grant Shapps now. Saying, what's going on here? Any idea? Not that he's in government anymore. He basically came back and said, well, are you surprised? I've paraphrased that a little bit. But then he said, you should really talk to the APPG and see what they've got to say and get them to ask some questions. So
that's the all-party parliamentary group for general aviation.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's now, I don't think it's GA. It's APPG Aviation, isn't it?
That's
so,
right. Yeah, it's changed. Yeah.
So even they've disengaged from GA. So we'll be talking to the APPGA and also the DFT and see what they've got to say, if anything at all.
That group that they were talking to, you call them the alphabet groups, people like AOPA and so on, they've actually got their own alphabet name, haven't they? GA4biz.
So there's some important changes coming to pilot licensing in the UK from the 1st of October. And even better news, the Civil Aviation Authority have come up with simple explanations of those key changes.
Well done, CA.
I know, yeah. So from 1st of October, the CAA will only issue NPPLA and Part FCL PPLAs. Any UK-issued Part FCL LAPL licence, anything already issued will remain valid. The LAPL H will continue to be issued. And for those already training on an existing LAPL course, any training completed will be credited going forwards.
Makes sense.
The NPPLA requires at least 32 hours of flight time, which will include at least 10 hours of supervised solo. But the good news is you can train on a PMD.
Excellent.
Yeah, and that will be acceptable for initial issue of an NPPL. The simple single-engined aeroplane rating on the NPPLA will then be replaced by the single-engine piston rating to align with other UK-issued licenses. While the privileges remain the same, so that's a 2,000 kilogram max takeoff weight, holders of the new SEP rating will now be allowed to fly microlights without needing to complete appropriate... Oh, no, you will be allowed to fly microlight aeroplanes after completing appropriate differences training, but without needing a separate microlight rating. The SLMG rating will also become the TMG rating. The PPLA, that changes, so you now need 5 hours less for that, so only 40 hours training time, and will now include... you can now train for that using 3-axis microlights, and the supervised solo flight time and license skill test must still be done in SEP or TMG. And the practical syllabus will include the introduction of partial power and the use of VFR moving maps, that's good. Haven't we all been talking about that for a while? Probably most useful for PPL holders is when it comes to revalidation. Up to 6 hours of your required 12 hours in your 2 years can be flown in the first year of validity, leaving you to fly your second 6 in the second year. The requirement for 12 takeoffs and landings in that second year remains unchanged. LAPL holders will move to a fixed validity system by October 2026. That's in line with Part FCL, PPL. And finally, if you want to use a non-Part 21 aircraft, so think permit to fly, for training towards your Part FCL license, there are some changes coming in that will make it easier to undertake.
It's kind of because this whole process is the simplification process.
Yeah.
And every time we try and explain the simplification process, it sounds quite complicated. Mm-hmm. But actually, once you get your head around it, there are some really good changes there and really positive things there. Just one of those things that when you actually try and write it down or explain it, sounds a little bit
it's
hard.
It's lots of acronyms, lots of numbers, lots of facts. I have to say, sometimes we're critical of the CAA, but actually they came out with a real simple document for this, didn't they?
They did.
They went, this is simplified, and it's pretty bang on.
Yeah.
And we're now starting the second tranche of that, which will come hopefully in 2026. So that's a good thing as well. So more to come. So well done, everybody at the CAA. Yeah. Top marks. Yeah. Not just a participation medal this time.
Well, listening to that story, though, I was thinking we must do a glossary of terms on the website just for new people coming in, because even though it's simple, there's still LAA, there's still LAPL.
Are there enough pages on the World Wide Web to do a glossary of terms?
Well, I think we should probably just sum it up.
Give it a crack.
Give it a good. Anyway, my story is about Gloucestershire Airport. The saga goes on. The current managing director, a chap called Jason Ivey, is stepping down from his job in January 2026. A statement from the two councils that are selling what was once the UK's top-performing General Aviation airport said Mr Ivey will continue to help progress with the sale to Horizon Aero Group. That kind of statement does kind of suggest that the due diligence process, which is part of the sale of the airport to Horizon Aero Group, does kind of sound as though it's a done deal to me. I've immediately got in touch with Mr. Soma Pereddi, who's the head of Horizon Aero Group, and asked him for an interview. But he came back and said, no, not quite ready yet. The due diligence isn't quite finished. We haven't completed the sale. So we still don't know much more about them as a group. However, they have issued a vision statement. And it's summed up by one sentence: a comprehensive social value charter, a bold vision to transform the airport into a thriving, sustainable and inclusive regional hub. Regional hub sounds a bit like a passenger airport to me, which I think they'll struggle with at Gloucester. A couple of other bits of airfield news. Leeds East Airport now has fuel available 24/7, both avgas and Jet A1, available on a self-service basis. Now, how does that work at night? The airport confirmed it won't have pilot-controlled lighting. Looking iPad. It confirmed it won't have pilot-controlled lighting, but it says there will be someone available to turn the lights on if needed.
I think you have to book them. You have to, when you phone up PPR, you need to go, hello, I need some fuel at 2:30 a.m. Could you please have someone there ready to turn the lights on? And they'll go, yes, that will cost you X, Y, Z. And it's a minimum charge of £75, but I'm sure that will go up depending on.
I was going to say that sounds bargainous, really, to get someone to get out of bed and come and turn the lights on.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, if I was that person, I would probably have a button by the side of the bed, so I could just reach out and do that.
I'd say you could put a bed in the control tower or something next to the button. That might
Sure,
be a way.
surely someone has underestimated the value of going, Alexa, turn on the runway lights.
That's what you need, isn't it?
That's it. Just make a radio call.
Wow.
Yep. Also, Newquay Airport has been in the news. They've got a new interim managing director called Amy Smith. She was telling BBC Radio Cornwall that although the airport needs a £6 million annual subsidy, it does bring in £300 million a year to the Cornwall economy. They plan to reduce the subsidy by developing the wider estate, she said, and adding more commercial routes. But GA seems pretty safe for now. Apparently, just 25% of the aircraft movements at Newquay are passenger flights. The vast majority are general aviation. Our bit.
Okay, our topic this week is all about buying your first aeroplane. And you have to ask the question, why would I buy an aeroplane of my own?
It's a very good question, Ed. So why did you decide to buy an aeroplane of your own?
For me, it was the opportunity to get the aeroplane that I wanted to own. I couldn't go and hire anywhere, and it was pretty unusual and rare, so I had to go and buy it.
Well, for me, it was simply because I'd been renting club aircraft up to that point, and when you're renting by the hour from a club fleet, it works out very expensive. And there's availability as well, coinciding decent weather with the availability of the aircraft and availability of yourself and perhaps friends. It never really kind of worked out. So buying an aircraft, plus I was pretty enthusiastic about the idea. It kind of gripped me.
Personally, I've actually got quite a strong belief here that if you learn to fly and you rent from a club, sometime within the first 2 to 3 years, you need to get either a share in an aircraft or an aircraft of your own. Otherwise, it just becomes too hard and too impractical to rent an aircraft and do this kind of similar flights. You really, to broaden your horizons, to go out and do more, you need to own an aircraft. Personally, for me, it was all about availability and making sure that the aircraft was available when I wanted it, and more to the point, it was equipped as I wanted it. And if there was, we've all flown those aircraft that you rent and you go, well, that bit's inoperative and that bit's inoperative, and someone forgot to clean the back seat. It was having an aircraft it's not like I clean my back seat, as it were, but that's my choice now, as opposed to anything else. So that was the reason why I wanted to buy it.
Yeah, and it's we talk about you learn to fly. It's like if you were going to learn to drive, you wouldn't keep flying. You wouldn't keep going. Oh, I'll go and I need to go to the shops. I'll go and rent the driving school car.
No.
You need to move on because it's how you embrace kind of flying freedom.
There are so many things that I've done with the airplane that I bought all those years ago that just wouldn't be possible from a rental fleet or anything else. A share in an aircraft is a different thing. We will talk about buying shares in an aircraft at some stage in the future. But this is really about buying your own aircraft.
Yeah. So what's have you got? What's your one top tip that you would offer to anyone buying an aeroplane? There first.
I would say that buying an airplane is an emotional decision, and actually owning the airplane beyond that is much more of a kind of long-term relationship thing. You kind of go from Dave's lust of buying a Luscombe to Dave's realization that you're in a relationship with that Luscombe and everybody around it, or any particular aircraft. So for me, when I bought the 182, the first annual was done by an organisation that were unfamiliar with that particular airframe, and so they quite rightly went through it because they didn't know anything about it. They didn't have the perspective of operating that aircraft, and the first annual cost me $13,500, which kind of knocked me sideways. To be perfectly honest, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And this was my ownership experience was about to begin and end quite quickly.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I managed to get through that, and there were some other issues as well. I managed to get through that, and now I think the way to own an aircraft happily is to have the right kind of relationship with your maintenance. Now, you may be like super busy, not got the time for anything, and you want that relationship where you take in the key and go, fix it, call me when it's done, I'll pick it up and pay, and that I don't want to know anything else. And that's one. If that's what you need, then that's what you need. Personally, I don't need that, and I want, I enjoy understanding the aircraft, understanding the systems, helping during annuals and stuff like that, and have a really good relationship with the guy who looks after the aircraft. And that's been really key and really important to me. Otherwise, I would definitely not be an aircraft owner. So,
Dave.
Well, the point I'm going to make is that whenever you're buying something like an aircraft or any mechanical device like a car or a motorcycle, you've got to check absolutely everything. You just got to go and try everything. If you're starting with the door handles, make sure they operate all right, they can lock okay, they shut the doors properly. Every switch, every knob, every control, make sure it absolutely works the way it should do. That's with the electrics on or off, with the engine running if it needs to be. And because if you don't, then somewhere along the line you're going to think, I wish I'd spotted that. Now, when I bought the only aircraft I've ever bought, I'm not a serial buyer like someone around here. But when I bought the Luscombe AT, it was an absolute dream. I must admit, I've been sold on the idea of buying a Luscombe. It was a lovely aeroplane. I had it checked over by an engineer who knew his Luscombes. That's Miles again. Yeah, he was the one who sold me on the idea of a Luscombe in the first place. But he showed me a picture of him flying across the States and landing on the salt flats in Utah. Of course, I'm going to have one after that. Anyway, so Miles quickly spotted that there were a couple of bolts missing from the starboard undercarriage. Bit of a surprise to the owner and seller, actually.
Yeah.
And we quickly had them fixed, and it was signed off by his LA inspector. And I went ahead and bought the aircraft. But within a few months, there were things I hadn't checked and started to come to notice. I didn't mind too much because I didn't end up with a £13,000 bill, but I did have
13.5.
Yeah, 13.5. I did end up with getting out. Every time I got out of the aircraft, there was a smell of fuel, and at first I thought it was just because it was kept in a hangar with other aircraft, and the smell tends to linger. But then I realised that I was getting out of the aircraft, parking it in the open, and there was still that smell. So I just went around the aeroplane, and I found a dribble of fuel coming off the trailing edge of the port wing. This is a Luscombe with metal wings with the fuel in the wings. And it took quite a bit of time to find someone to fix it. I didn't feel competent enough to do it myself. Took quite a bit of time to find someone to do it, and it ended up costing £500, which is not a huge sum of money when it comes to aviation pounds, but...
I'm guessing it was the time to get something fixed.
It was, yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah. And there were other items.
I think it's important to note that actually when we're talking about, when many people buy an aircraft, they're buying an aircraft that's maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
So it hasn't reached that unbelievably cosseted antique stage.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going, I bought this Cirrus at 6 months old. You're buying a classic, you're buying an Austin Allegro type car. And there will be things that will go wrong. There'll be things that the 182 is built in 1977. There's things don't last that long without going wrong.
Yeah.
And you just have to budget for that.
Okay, so my tale, slightly different, because I was the person who bought something sight unseen. Unusual times, it was the COVID lockdown, and it was an aeroplane that I knew there would probably be a bit of demand for because it was an RB3. There's not many of those that come onto the market. I knew a little bit about it from when it was originally built, which was probably 10, 12 years before it came up for sale. So I knew a little bit about the aeroplane, but still did my research on things I needed to know about it. Picked up the phone and had a chat to the seller, who was very nice and had the answers that I need. But fundamentally, ended up putting a deposit down on it, never actually seeing it. And I wouldn't recommend that to people because that's probably not the best idea for your first aeroplane. But it did pay off. As a friend of mine then went and collected the aeroplane. The first time I ever saw it was when it arrived here at Wadswick. And when I then spent some time going through it, and luckily it was okay. But I'd asked some basic questions, and from the information I'd found out, I was pretty happy with where I was getting in because I knew that the mags had had an inspection at 500 hours, so someone had looked at those. I knew that there had been a new set of cylinders had gone on it 2 or 3 years before it had come up for sale. So I felt that was positive. The builder I knew had built a previous aeroplane of the same type before and had a good reputation. So I was pretty confident with that. Further down the line, as we got more into regular maintenance, we did discover that some incorrect hardware was used the tail had been taken off for some paint at some time. Clearly someone had put it back on temporarily. And that was with some plain nuts and not some permanently, yes. So that was I changed inspectors, and my new inspector was really thorough. And I guess that's another thing is find an engineer that you go, this guy really knows his stuff, or this engineer really knows his stuff. And is willing to go and look in every nook and every cranny with a mirror, with a big, powerful torch, and really look. Because it's amazing what you can find, even in something that you think you have lots of confidence in.
Yeah. And you're not bothered, you're not worried too much about buying from the States?
No, because I bought a similar aeroplane, similar story in a way. It's an aeroplane I'd seen at Oshkosh a few years before. And lots of people, the LIA themselves discourage people from buying overseas because, there are various stories about things not being made exactly to plans or not being made perfectly. But again, I did the research. I had the initial knowledge of the aeroplane and went, hey, I want that. And we can put the time into figuring out how it's going to get shipped, how it's going to end up somewhere, get taken apart, put in a box, and you plan for bringing an aeroplane in, and you have to be prepared for all the work you put into then bringing that onto a UK permit. The other thing with the second RV in the States is that purchase was on the basis that the aeroplane was out of annual at the time. So the purchase was around the fact that I sent someone to do an annual, and obviously then they go through and they do all the things that you would want to know about, like compression checks and oil. Do an oil change, cut the filter open, look at the particles, look at the oil, go through the aeroplane stem to stern, and make sure that it's okay. So I guess with that particular aeroplane, that gave me a great deal of confidence, and I would thoroughly recommend that to anyone buying their first aeroplane. If you can go into it and be part of the maintenance process, I think I'd rather that than someone going, "Hey, I've got this aeroplane with a fresh ticket on it."
I think absolutely, you definitely need to get your pre-buy done, and sometimes an annual done if possible, by someone who is not involved with the seller of the aeroplane or the selling organisation. You need to maybe get it done by the people who will be looking after it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this segment up. If there was one thing each of us would say to somebody thinking of buying their first aircraft, what would it be?
I would say talk to someone who knows the aircraft type really well, and talk to someone who has operated that aircraft.
Yep. Ed?
Do your research. Be confident in yourself about the choice of aeroplane you're thinking of buying, and don't be afraid to get on the internet and find out.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is, as I've said already, is check absolutely everything, every little bit, but also trust your instincts. The very first, when I bought the Luscombe, I had looked at two before. The first one I saw was battered and cowling was a real mess. Look, okay, he'd been in a fight with Mike Tyson. And the second one, I just did not get on with the seller. I thought him a bit of a creep. So in the end, I decided just to walk away. But enjoy the whole thing. Enjoy the thing. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the aircraft, and do it.
I have one more important point to make, which I think buying an airplane is a very emotional thing. But I would suggest that you buy an airplane that you can afford. There are, I know it sounds funny, but there's a lot of people who go, I look at that, it's amazing. I'm not expecting one of the engines in the twin, not wanting. If you need to go flying in an airplane that you can afford, because you will then go flying. If you've got an airplane, you go, it's lovely, but I can only really afford to take it out once every couple of months. Yeah. It's not an ownership experience. You know, whatever your level is, that's where you'll be happiest.
Yep.
Hope you're enjoying the show so far, but we would like you to join the Flyer Club, and there are lots of great reasons for joining the Flyer Club. The first of them is there's free landing fees. Ed, do you know where they are this month?
I do know where they are this month.
This week even.
I know, yeah. You can land for free in September. The month is running out already, isn't it? Beccles, Blackbush, Dornoch, Kingsmuir, and you can get 50% off at Kitty Hawk.
Bargain.
Yeah. And there's, of course, all our webinars. There's lots of them. The latest one was with Dr. Frank Voten, giving 5 lifestyle changes that can keep you flying. But there's such a lot of materials there now.
But I think there's over 30 or something up there at the moment.
Yep.
That's
and
a large number.
Some of them are going to have to redo because the licensing changes are about to come in. But there's really some really great ones out there.
Plus, you get full access to everything that we write and create on the Flyer site. You get the Skystream, which is Wednesday's live
members
only show. You get to join and participate in the Flyer Forum. It only costs £6 a week or £62 a year. Flyer.co.uk/membership. You know it makes sense.
Best bargain in aviation. We think so. Okay, so the question on everyone's lips is, what caught your eye? Ian.
Well, I'm still flabbergasted, I tell you, by the age of the Pitts, 80 years old. And I was looking at other aircraft to see when they were. And, this time, 82 years ago, the de Havilland Vampire first flew.
Blimey.
Flew from Hatfield, Geoffrey de Havilland Jr. at the controls. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just 2 years before. That's amazing. So, as you know, wooden-built twin-boom aircraft with a Goblin engine, which started life as the Halford H1. A couple of interesting feats. Let me get this right here. Yes, Cat's Eyes Cunningham.
That's a great name.
It is. I don't think that was his. He wasn't christened that, I don't think.
No.
He set an altitude record in July 1948 and climbed to 59,446 feet. It's kind of, A, that must have been cold, but B, he must have been in there going, surely I can get another 500.
That's quite.
Surely I can crack the 60k.
That's quite an impressive achievement because these were jets that were not overwhelmed with power.
They weren't overwhelmed with power. I suspect. No, indeed. Also, Eric Winkle-Brown was the first person to land a jet aircraft and take off a jet aircraft from an aircraft carrier.
Wow.
And more recently, in 2015, I only say that because we were there, a pilot called Pete Zaccanino, who had fame for a little while on a TV series called Ferry Pilots. He won the jet class at Reno at a speed of 502.37 miles an hour in a T-55.
I remember that.
Vampire.
Yeah. Dave.
Well, I see a lot of press releases in my job, and one caught my eye this week, mainly because of an outrageous claim. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. The press release was issued by Vertical Aerospace. That confirmed its plan to build its electric vertical takeoff and landing VX4 at Cotswold Airport, at least initially. Vertical said it will build 25 VX4s at Kemble, expanding its footprint at the airport. It's already got a base there, expanding its footprint to 100,000 square feet. And they also plan to build a battery production facility at Avonmouth. That's not far away. Yep. The outrageous bit was where Vertical said...
You mean ambitious?
Oh, ambitious. Okay, sorry, not outrageous, ambitious. Vertical said they would build 900 aircraft a year by 2035. That's roughly 3 a day, which is the bit that I think is ambitious.
I think that's extremely ambitious. It
Yeah.
reminds me of the Icon press conferences that we used to go to.
Someone came up with a number that left many of us absolutely incredulous at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a bit like the flight design press conferences where they would go, oh yeah, the C4, it's going to do 179 knots or whatever it
2
is.
liters an hour.
Yeah.
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 But you might think, why is Vertical Aerospace saying this now? Well, it comes as they're about to launch a call for more investment. In fact, they need $700 million to complete certification of the VX4 by 2028. And that's just the electric version. They are planning a hybrid electric as well.
See, 2028, that leaves them 7 years to ramp up to build 3 a day.
That's a steep ramp.
Are there any aircraft manufacturers worldwide who are building 3 aircraft a day at the moment? I mean, outside of Ukrainian drone factories?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so either.
What caught my eye? Well, it was a fantastic picture on the internet, as it often is. So this was all about having the fastest prop aircraft and the fastest jet in the same frame, and it all began with the story of. In the 1981 Reno Air Race, it was won by an unlimited air racer called Genie, which was a modified P-51. And the Genie crew were so excited. They're like, well, actually, we've had this big race win. We're going to go out and set a piston speed record next. And we really need to capture the attention of the media. And how are we going to do that? And someone on the team said, what we need to do is get the fastest prop aircraft and the fastest jet aircraft and get them flying together. Now, Genie, they were dreaming of being the fastest prop aircraft. The fastest jet aircraft was a Blackbird, which is fast. And you go, that's a bonkers plan to
fly. And the best aircraft ever made.
Best aircraft ever made. You go, that's a crazy plan to fly a piston engine aircraft and a Blackbird in formation. Talk about dissimilar formation. And it is mad because an SR-71 climbing out of Palmdale Air Force Base where they were based, those aircraft are doing 450 knots. And Genie, with its race prepped engine, can run 125 inches of manifold pressure. Let that sink in. But still, that's a lot of manifold pressure. But this was going to be a difficult challenge. And you might wonder, how do you make something like that happen? Because clearly no one is going to agree to that. But luckily, because the current record at the time was held by what had been formerly a US Navy aircraft, a Bearcat, the Conquest one, flown by Darrell Grenemeyer. But Genie was a US Air Force P-51, and it just so happened that Bill Park, who was head of the Skunk Works flight operations team, he was an Air Force guy. So someone clearly went, let's do this for the Air Force. And Bill went, I'm totally in. Unbelievable to think this actually happened, but it really did. And in the end, Skip Holm, who was Genie's race pilot, he took off and loitered around Palmdale. The Blackbird got airborne. Skip began his 125 inches of manifold pressure run on his race engine, and they were like, I hope it holds together. Pulled up in formation with the Blackbird, doing 450 knots. Miraculously, out of nowhere, someone appeared in a T-38 jet with a camera, and they snapped a few photos. And
Could have done it from a Venom.
Yeah, exactly.
Vampire, sorry.
So was that an Air Force jet, by the way?
It was an Air Force jet.
Yes.
It all went as briefed. It was like a fleeting tiny window of photo opportunity. SR-71 went on its way. Genie returned. The photos didn't actually get a lot of publicity. I wonder whether someone went, that thing we did, maybe we shouldn't have done that. I think what's amazing, though, is you look at those two aeroplanes, they're fundamentally separated by just 20 years of development. And I think that's, apart from being P-51 and a Blackbird, which is an awesome formation photo, I mean, that's just
astounding.
That is
isn't it?
astounding.
That's mad.
And you're right, the Blackbird is awesome.
Absolutely. Read the book, Skunk Works, Ben Rich. Great book.
It's a great book. Yeah. So if you've got a favourite out of the things that caught our eye this week, let us know in the comments. Or if something caught your eye, tell us.
Well, events. the Friends of Barton are trying yet again to hold their flying at
Third time lucky.
Actually, I think it's fourth time lucky. It's just been rained off week after week after week. Anyway, they're trying again on Saturday. Also on Saturday, there's a microlight flying at Compton Abbas, and the late summer flying show is at Stowe Maries. This is the Great War Aerodrome out in Suffolk, I think, isn't it? Suffolk, yeah. There's a microlight competition at Damon's Hall Aerodrome. You probably won't want to fly into that, but you might want to stay away from it. So, yep, we're coming towards the end of the season now. There is also, there's Sunday, there's an end of season flying at Kirkbride. And next week, there's the Helitech Expo. This is the industry exhibition for helicopters and vertical things. And that's at London XL.
Okay, so don't forget, if you like this, please like, comment and subscribe. And if you got this far, you probably do. So look forward to it. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Bye. Bye.
It was just a pain in the neck to try and put it anywhere. So I ended up sticking it in a very awkward place.
And since then, Dave's never been lost.
Join the Flyer Club today and save hundreds of pounds with your free landing vouchers. Watch insightful monthly webinars from our group of aviation experts and access all the online content on flyer.co.uk from just £6 per month or £62 for the full year. You can meet new people, fly more and become a better pilot. Join today at flyer.co.uk/membership.